Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Gopijanna Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Gopijanna Vallabha Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Jaya Girivaradari Gopijanna Vallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jai Shri Shri Radha Damodara Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Vivajakacharya Stottara Sata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Relay Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Vivajakacharya Astottara Sata Shri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Devamrita Swaminita Namane Pacharipur Valaksham Ja Bhaktacharu Vinita Parartha Tapikarunyam Yasya Sarve Chitenamaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminita Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the King of all books, the Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, in its 7th canto, chapter 7, where Prahlad learned in the womb. We can compare it to ourselves and what we learned in the womb. Wasn't much. But by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we can learn. It's not too late. It's not too late to learn. So our text number 15. Rishi karunikastasya pradad ubhayam ishvara dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha mam apyudishya nirmalam. Rishi karunikastasya pradad ubhayam ishvara dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha mam apyudishya nirmalam. Rishi karunikastasya pradad ubhayam ishvara dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha mam apyudishya nirmalam. Anyone like to
Rishi
recite?
karunikastasya radharubhaya mishvaraha dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha mam apyudishya nirmalam.
ऋषिकारुणिकस्तस्य प्रादादुभयम् ईश्वरः धर्मस्य तत्त्वं ज्ञानं च मामप्युदिश्य निर्मलम्.
Thank you, Prabhus. The usual suspects like reciting the Sanskrit. Word for word translation says, Rishihi, the great sage Narada Muni, Karunikaha, naturally very affectionate or merciful to the fallen souls. Tasyaha, to her, Pradat, gave instructions. Ubhayam, both. Ishvaraha, a powerful controller who can do whatever he likes. Narada Muni. Dharmasya, of religion. Tattvam, the truth. Jnanam, knowledge. Cha, and mam, me. Api, especially. Udishya, indicating. Nirmalam, without material contamination. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Narada Muni delivered his instructions both to me, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to the fallen souls, being in a transcendental position, he gave instructions on religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions were free from all material contamination. Purport. Here it is said, Dharmasya tattvam jnanam cha nirmalam. The word nirmalam refers to spotless dharma, spotless religion, or in other words, Bhagavat Dharma. Ordinary ritualistic activities constitute contaminated religion by which one benefits by developing material wealth and prosperity. But uncontaminated, pure religion consists of understanding one's relationship with God and acting accordingly, thus fulfilling the highest mission of life and returning home back to Godhead. Prahlada Maharaj advised that one elevate oneself to the standard of Bhagavat Dharma from the very beginning of life. Komara acharit pragyo dharman bhagavatan iha. The Lord himself also speaks of pure, uncontaminated religion when he says, Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. One must understand one's relationship with God and then act accordingly. This is Bhagavat Dharma. Bhagavat Dharma means Bhakti Yoga. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatya Shivairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahoitikam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. To be situated on the platform of pure religion, one should perform Bhakti Yoga in relationship with Krishna, Vasudeva. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshware Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacham Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, Prahlad Maharaj is saying that Narada Muni delivered his instructions both to me and, who was within the womb, and to my mother, who was engaged in rendering him service. Because he is naturally extremely kind to the fallen souls, being in a transcendental position, he gave instructions on religion and transcendental knowledge. These instructions were free from all material contamination. There are two things going on here which I find remarkable and worthy of some discussion or commentary. One is that, of course, as Prabhupada is pointing out in the purport, those instructions were free from all material contamination. This is the real religion, free from dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita kaitavotra nirmalam, Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nimatsaranam satam. Something like that. That what is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, what is spoken about in Srimad Bhagavatam is dharma, which is completely free from covering by materialistic fruitive intention and is 100% pure, paramaha nirmatsaranam satam, understood by those who are also pure. Now, that might just sound like some cheerleading for our team, but this is actually a very important technical distinction being made, that dharma, real religiosity, must be free from, or should we say Bhagavad Dharma, must be free from any sort of materialistic motivation, including dharma, the sort of category of dharma which refers to just acting according to one's psychophysical nature, whereby one derives some benefit, artha, some wealth, some sort of income, and with that income, one tries to gratify their own senses, kama, and then being frustrated with a lifetime or many lifetimes of gratifying the senses, one considers, let me be liberated from material existence, moksha, even that is considered materialistic, being motivated by a mere relief from suffering and not from love of God proper. So dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. These types of religiosity, although certainly better than animal life, are not Bhagavad Dharma, not pure devotional service, not pure religion. The instructions that Narada Muni gave to Prahlad, in which Prahlad will describe in this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, ultimately point towards pure love of God, which is unconditional, which is uninhibited, which is uninterrupted, and which ultimately pleases the Lord and pleases the self more than anything else. So those are the instructions that Narada Muni is giving, not just instructions on how to have some more money, how to get all the girls to like you, how to have some more power and some influence, how to conquer over some enemies, how to be successful, not the prosperity theology, which has become popular today, or the politically entrenched theology that's also very popular today, or whatever other thing, mixed with some materialistic motivation, mixed with some bodily concept of life. These things are rejected by Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma projita kaitavotra nirmatsaranam. It's rejected. It's rejected by Narada Muni. It's rejected by Prahlad. It's rejected by Sutta Goswami, Shukadeva Goswami. It's rejected by Srila Prabhupada. And so perhaps we should reject it also. Perhaps we should also reject this notion that my religiosity should be lockstep with some sort of prosperity, with some sort of materialistic improvement, with some sort of benefit for my body and mind. It's time for us to reject this notion and become infatuated with, obsessed with, convinced of, at least, pure love of God, free from any sort of covering. Krishna says that we are covered. Avritam, avritam jnanam etena jnanina nitya vairina. We're covered. Our pure knowledge of God is covered by an eternal enemy. There's some nice dramatic language. Our eternal enemy in the form of lust. Kama rupena konteya dushparena analena cha. This lust which like a fire is never extinguished with the addition of fuel. So similarly, the pure consciousness of the living entity, pure consciousness, by one thinks only, Nityasiddha Krishna Prema, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. What is it? Jivera Swarupa Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das, Nityera Krishna Das, however Srila Prabhupada would recite the shloka. That pure consciousness, by one thinks, I am just a servant of Krishna. I'm just a servant of the Lord, part and parcel of the Lord. That pure consciousness is covered, avritam, by kama, lust. That same love of God, which is our essential nature, which is our intrinsic quality, becomes covered by lust, transformed like spoiled milk. So Krishna says that we're covered. We need to become uncovered. Consider the poetic device here. Not that it's a device, but I mean, just look at this section of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just consider. Here's Prahlad, literally covered by the womb. I mean, that's as entrenched as you can be. Covered by the womb. And yet, despite his condition, he's able to receive transcendental knowledge from Narada Muni and become uncovered by the material energy. This is not an analogy. This is not an allegory, but it is very poetic for illustrating to us that there is no impediment. There's no impediment for anyone who's receiving transcendental knowledge. There's no impediment for anyone who is giving transcendental knowledge. That in any circumstance, one can become uncovered, avritam, and one's pure consciousness can be reinstated, remembered, really. That there is no obstacle. That even Prahlad, who is yet just an embryo, a fetus, growing in his mother's abdomen, in her womb, still he can hear Bhagavat Dharma from Narada Muni, understand it and realize it, because actually it's not a condition of the body. It's quite the opposite. To understand Bhagavat Dharma is a condition of being detached from the body. And so there's no impediment. Whether we are aged, whether we are young, whether we're still in the womb, whether even if we don't have a material body, just have a subtle body, like in the form of a ghost, there is no impediment. There is no impediment. There is no impediment to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. The only impediment is that you have to be awake at 7 o'clock and tune in to Bhagavatam class. That's the impediment, which is not always easy to overcome. But considering the situation of Prahlad Maharaj, we should know that actually it is possible for anyone. It is possible for anyone to hear from the pure devotee, like Narada Muni, or like Srila Prabhupada, and this way become uncovered and to realize that actually the goal of life, that actually the purpose of existence, that actually the real religiosity is just rendering service to the Lord with devotion, with love. Krishna himself says this to make explicitly clear. Sarva dharman parityaja. Tyaja means to give up something. Tyaktva, tyaja, a tyagi. That means to give up something. And pari, the prefix means completely, all around. Just like we have in our English, what comes from the Latin, which comes from the Sanskrit, perimeter, peripheral. Parityaja, Krishna is saying completely give up. Sarva dharma. Give up all dharma. It's like, hold on a second. That's why we got into Krishna consciousness, trying to understand dharma. And then Krishna says, give it all up. Sarva dharma, parityaja. Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, has a way with words, just making things so simple and so clear so that there cannot be any doubt. Mam ekam sharanam. Surrender to me alone. We know what it's like to surrender. We know what it's like to give ourselves entirely to something. We've tried it so many times for some new interest, some new hobby, some new person, some new hope, maybe for some movement, for some social movement, for some new product. We've surrendered many times, giving ourselves fully, putting ourselves 100% into it, having complete hope and longing that this is going to fulfill me. It's going to give me what I want. Krishna is saying, Mam ekam sharanam vraja. Should go in that way. That's what vraja means, to go. Of course, vraja, Vrindavan, means the place where the cows go, where the cows wander. That's the meaning of vraja. The cows wander very freely in vraja. So Krishna is explicitly stating, take shelter of me alone. But implying, he's implicitly stating that, like the residents of vraja, who have no other shelter than Krishna in all circumstances, in all situations, that's the pure dharma. Not, what will I get out of this? Not, how will this improve my situation so that I can be more powerful, so that I can be more influential, so that I can have more opulences, so that I can have more sense enjoyment, so that I can be God. But like the residents of Braj, who have no other motivation than pleasing Krishna, who have no other consideration than how to give pleasure to Krishna, and who, ironically, coincidentally, enjoy even more than Krishna. And therefore, Krishna has to take the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to maintain his status as the supreme enjoyer. Like the residents of Braj, Krishna says, Sarva, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. Should just surrender unto the Lord. So that's the pure Dharma. This is the instructions free from material contamination that Narada Muni taught to Prahlad, and that we also have the great benefit of hearing through the perfect medium of Srila Prabhupada. As we can see in all of Srila Prabhupada's commentary, he's always kicking out Dharma Projita Kaitava. He's always kicking out any sort of materialistic motivation. Prabhupada doesn't make any exceptions. Well, but also, we should make a lot of money and enjoy the body and the mind. No, in every place, Srila Prabhupada is talking about pure devotional service. And that's why we get a little intimidated to read Prabhupada's books. That's why people are challenged by Prabhupada's books. And that's why we should distribute Prabhupada's books far and wide. Because Prabhupada is talking about pure devotional service in every purport, in every page, in every publication. Pure devotional service. It's the PPP program. Every purport, page, and publication, pure devotional service. But if we don't hear all the time, then how will we know? We'll slip back into our old ways of thinking, what is Krishna doing for me? What am I getting out of this? And in this way, become miserable, you become distracted, or spend many lifetimes trying to get to pure devotional service. If we're just calculating profit calculation for sense gratification, then we'll spend many lifetimes. But if we're always hearing Srimad Bhagavatam daily, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, by hearing from the spiritual master, by discussing Krishna with others, by encouraging others to hear about Krishna, by distributing Prabhupada's books, then we'll always be reminded and we'll never forget. It's that simple. It's that simple. Just put yourself in the situation where you're always hearing the pure Bhagavat Dharma from the pure devotee. It's so easy. Rather than just waiting, when am I going to just spontaneously be drawn towards pure devotional service? Just throw yourself into it. Like these people who sign up for these extreme exercise things, I've heard about this recently. Boot camps. They sign up for the exercise boot camp, when you're overweight, when you can't run more than 100 feet without being winded, and you realize, I got to do something about this. This whole situation needs some rectification. And so people sign up for these boot camps, knowing that they're going to be, put through the crucible. They just put themselves into the situation where that training is going to take place, where that transformation is going to take place. So similarly, as devotees, we just put ourselves within the earshot of the pure devotee Bhagavad Gita. Just always put yourself in that earshot. Just make sure you have the signal, the connection, like the Wi-Fi, like the connection on the phone. We're very uncomfortable when suddenly we don't have any service, right? Like I don't have any service. I don't have any connection. What's the Wi-Fi? What's the password? How do I connect? Quickly. Everybody's heard of Maslow's, what is it? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It, you have probably seen that pyramid, and like at the bottom has like shelter, and then there's, food, and then there's community. I can't remember all of them. It's up to self-actualization. It's at the highest. But there's a new updated Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and below everything else, the very fundamental is the Wi-Fi password. Just have to have that connection at all times. So if we could feel the same way about the connection with Krishna by always hearing, how fantastic that would be. I need to connect. I need this. Where's the signal? I got to get the signal. We just put ourselves in the firing range of the pure devotees, Bhagavad Gita. We want to be downrange from Srila Prabhupada. Always hearing the Bhagavad Gita. Always hearing Srila Prabhupada's purports to Srimad Bhagavatam. And in that way, we'll always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So, what's also very interesting from this verse is that Narada Muni is delivering instructions to Prahlad within the womb and to his mother, who is an adult engaged in service. And yet we'll hear that his mother, Kayadu, actually, due to the passage of time, forgot a lot of the instructions. If not all, I don't know. It just says that she forgot these instructions. And it indicates to us that Sakala Neha Mahata Yoga Nashta Parantapa, Krishna says that by the influence of time, even the science of yoga becomes destroyed. At least it's destroyed within the minds of those who are meant to remember it. And that Prahlad, despite being a mere fetus, a mere embryo growing in his mother's womb, is able to remember. What we should take from this, of course, is that there's no impediment to teaching, to sharing Krishna consciousness, and that you never really know who is going to take that message of Krishna Kata, take the transcendental wisdom, and really apply it and benefit it from it. I have many experiences of trying to preach Krishna consciousness, share Krishna consciousness with others, and pretty much always being surprised who's the one that really gets it, who's the one who really takes it up. If I were to make some superficial estimation, I would think, here's a person who's coming along to the programs, to the kirtan, or to the discussions, and they seem to have an inclination, they seem to have some philosophical inclination, or they have some experience with some sort of piety or with some meditation practice. And so many times I'm thinking, well, this person has all of the ingredients for success in spiritual life. And yet, so often, it's not that one. It's not that one who hears the message of Bhagavad Dharma and receives it and is transformed by it. So often, in fact, more often than not, I find myself completely surprised by who it is that actually is transformed by Bhagavad Dharma, who takes the Krishna Katha and the Krishna Kirtan deep into their heart and allows themselves to be completely transformed into devotees of the Lord. It's so surprising because it is not a materialistic thing. And this is my point here. It is not, there's no material impediment. There's no material condition. Prabhupada said in in uh, in a statement about who really receives the Krishna Katha and becomes a devotee, he said It is simply their good fortune. That good fortune could be the result of previous lives and their interaction with devotees, some mercy of the Lord, or just that the Lord, who is the super soul in their heart, bestows some blessing upon them, so that when they hear the holy names, so that when they hear Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, they're transformed. Simply their good fortune. And then, of course, as we know, Srila Prabhupada famously said, he created the good fortune for so many. So as devotees, we also have some empowerment to create that good fortune for others. And it's just so wonderful. It's so amazing. And you never ever get tired of it, seeing who is so fortunate as to take up Krishna consciousness, having heard about it from the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. It's always remarkable. It's like a sunrise. You never get tired of it. It's just one of those things that it always blows my mind. And perhaps I've become a bit addicted to that. And that's why I just try to keep going, trying to share Krishna consciousness with others, because seeing the person transform is so satisfying. It's so amazing. And it fills one with such conviction, like, wow, if even this person can do it, maybe I can become Krishna conscious someday. As my dear godbrother Mahavan Prabhu told me, he said, preaching Krishna consciousness is so wonderful because you'll be telling everyone about Krishna, and then at some point you'll stop and think, wow, that sounds really good. I should also be Krishna conscious. I should also do it. That sounds great. All the stuff that I'm saying to this person, I should really do that. It's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek humor. Of course, we should actually be doing it so that we can preach it with conviction. But the point is that by watching someone transform and become Krishna conscious, it's just always remarkable. It's always a miracle. And it's a very powerful thing to witness. The sort of people who you never know. You can't just guess who's going to be affected. I've got one dear god sister in Australia. Hopefully she doesn't hear this. But when she was coming along to our programs in Sydney, gosh, she was just such a pain in my backside, just like always challenging everything thing that I said. She's really caught up in all sorts of, whatever's the latest movement, the latest thing to be incensed about, to be upset about in politics and in society, and about justice for this thing and that thing. And so, like, every time she would come up to me after some little speech or some kirtan or whatever and just like challenge me and bring all sorts of problems and just like, but what about this and what about that? Just always getting on my case. And there were some times when after the program, we would do a couple of different types of programs in Sydney, especially at this Lotus Room and at our Govinda's ashram. And I kind of like say something in between each of the kirtan mantras. It was very meditative. And then everyone would have prasadam, of course. And so as soon as it was done, I would like get up really fast and try to get out of there before she would come up to me and say something. But somehow I tried to be supportive of her and encourage her. Anyway, long story short, you never know. It's always a miracle. She just became so attached to Krishna, so attached to chanting the holy names of Krishna. We gave her Srimad Bhagavatam as her birthday present. And now she's like the biggest preacher in Australia. And she's just doing such incredible Sankirtan service, making so many devotees, just doing incredible, huge programs, filling up Hyde Park right in the middle of Sydney, downtown Sydney. It's got this beautiful Hyde Park. And she does this kirtan where like 100 people come all the time. There's always like new people who are joining. And then she does these other kirtans in other parts of the city. And so many persons have become introduced to Krishna consciousness by her effort. And I was trying to run away from her. I was trying to avoid her. But you just never know. There is no material impediment. There is no material condition. There's no formula that makes for the reception of Krishna consciousness. It's just, as Srila Prabhupada says, their good fortune, which might be the result of their interactions with the devotee in the past, or interactions with the Lord in the past, or their interactions with the devotee in this lifetime. Some good fortune is increased, awakened. So it's a miracle, as is being demonstrated here. Narada Muni is giving the instructions of Bhagavad Dharma, pure devotional service, to an embryo. And here we are, adults with fully formed prefrontal cortex. We should be able to get it too. We should be able to utilize everything. Actually, your prefrontal cortex does not matter at whatever stage it's at in its development or its retardation and disintegration. Because, we're kind of up and down some days. We can still become Krishna conscious by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, as long as we're within earshot at all times, as long as we are in the firing range, downrange from Srila Prabhupada's bhakti bullets, then it is entirely possible that we can become as Krishna conscious as Prahlad. That's why we're reading about Prahlad. So that, like him, we can become fully Krishna conscious. That's why he gives his instructions. It's not just that we get some buzz so that we satisfy some sort of requirement, the necessary requirement so that I can get prasadam. I got to show everybody that I'm enough of a devotee to get prasadam. That's not why we're here, so that we can become Krishna conscious just like Prahlad. This is why Narada Muni delivered his instructions to Kayadu and Prahlad in the womb. This is why Prahlad is teaching his school friends. This is why Shukadeva Goswami is repeating it to Maharaj Parikshit. This is why Sutta Goswami is repeating it to the sages in Naimisharanya. That's why Srila Prabhupada is translating and commenting so that we can hear it and become just as Krishna conscious as Prahlad. And if we're always hearing, then it is inevitable. So, isn't that great? It's practically inevitable. It's pretty much a done deal. Let's just make this process swift and effective by always hearing all the time. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Hare Krishna. So stop there. Ask if there's any questions or comments or feedback or praise. Unfortunately, there's no holidays today. It's a very regular day in Krishna consciousness, but we'll have the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on Friday.
Hare
But that's all
Krishna,
I have to say about
Yashodhara
that.
Prabhu.
Oh, maybe Tarika Prabhu can add some more about Krishna consciousness.
That was a really fun class. And so many great points. Thank you very much. I always enjoy hearing from you.
Thank you,
In
Prabhu.
fact, I was just having a lot of back and forth with Dave Amrita Swami recently, and I was telling him this Yasudeva Prabhu is a good man, very good preacher.
Hare Krishna.
Nice job. Anyway, I'm reminded by your words of some things that Srila Prabhupada told us. That because devotees sometimes, based upon their prior experience, their material conditioning, they have sometimes different ideas about what sort of person is going to be receptive to Krishna consciousness.
Mm.
And as you pointed out, it's all a mistake, but nonetheless, we do these things. So, the early in the movement, the hippies would tend to preach to the hippies, thinking that the hippies are going to be more receptive. The acid heads would think, the acid heads are going to be particularly receptive, and so on. We had different classes of individuals coming from different backgrounds, and they would tend to think that, people who think like them are going to be more receptive, and they would tend to neglect others. Or sometimes they would think that this particular class of people need it more than someone else. So, for example, in New York, we used to take the leftovers from the Sunday feast to the Bowery, where there were many bums, lots of alcoholics lying on the sidewalk in a drunken stupor. really in terrible shape. And so we would distribute prasad to them. And the devotees felt quite good about this. They thought, this is a wonderful act of charity. And when it came to Srila Prabhupada's attention, he was critical. He said, why are you distributing to the Bowery bums? Why not the businessmen on Wall Street? Why are you not distributing to everyone? Because the need is, they all need it. They all stand to benefit. And, our interest is not just to try to uplift the bums. And furthermore, we're trying to make devotees. What kind, do we want to have a movement of former alcoholics, um, populating our temples exclusively? There's all kinds of people. All of them need the benefit of Krishna consciousness. All of them are Krishna's parts and parcels. They are all at the core of their being. They are all Krishna's devotees. They all have the capacity to become wonderful devotees. And we should not neglect any of these other classes of people. It's not just that the vegans are capable of becoming devotees, or the vegetarians, or the new agey types, or whatever. Sometimes we mold our entire outreach program based upon some conception that a certain class of people are going to be receptive. We want to demonstrate that we are responsible, ecologically. We want to be sure that people understand that the prasad is strictly vegan, or whatever. We try to impress different classes of people that we think are going to be particularly receptive. And sometimes those classes of people are, in fact, not particularly receptive, or downright demonic. They have their own reasons for, being inclined towards some particular idea or other, but often at the root of it there is absolutely no element of Krishna consciousness, but just some sort of extended materialism. So yeah, truly, you cannot predict who is going to become a devotee. Everyone needs it. Everyone can benefit from it. And Krishna consciousness is miraculous in its effect. And Krishna can inspire anyone to take up devotional service. And it happens all the time. The movement is, in fact, populated by people from all walks of life, all different kinds of people. And people, you might not expect, but all kinds of people become devotees. Scientists become devotees. Businessmen become devotees. Hippies become devotees. Students become devotees. All kinds of people become devotees. Doesn't matter. And sometimes the individuals who are very challenging and argumentative become the most solid devotees, because they are intelligent. The fact that they are challenging is a symptom of their intelligence.
That's so
And
true.
they're trying to satisfy their intelligence. They're challenging you because they want their questions answered to their satisfaction. And if you can do that, if you can satisfy their intelligence, then they become really solid, because they have no more questions. They have no doubts. Their intelligence has been satisfied. And then they become very powerful preachers. They then are fortified with the intelligence to be able to persuade others, because they've been persuaded effectively. So they can become fantastic devotees, as you pointed out. So anyway, it's important that we don't limit the scope of our preaching. We want to broadcast Krishna consciousness to everyone, and see what happens. But don't neglect any particular class on the basis of some false idea. That's a mistake. And it's unfortunate when that happens because it's so important. It's it's more important. It's more serious than life and death. It's gravely serious. There are living entities who need the benefit of Krishna consciousness so desperately. We should not neglect any of them. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts. Thank you again for
Hi,
a
Prabhu.
wonderful
Fired
and
up.
inspiring class. I always love to hear your preaching stories. All of your Sankirtan stories are very enlivening and inspiring. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Uh, yeah, go ahead,
Hare
Agar.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for a very inspirational class. As Thakur Prabhu aptly described it, it was a great fun promenade, nice walk in transcendence. So my question relates to Prahlad Maharaj here testifying that the cause of him being freed from the deep layers that were covering him, as you aptly described, the womb, him not having a fully developed body, is that Narada Muni's instructions were free from all material contamination, right? So sometimes we find in the course of answering newcomers' questions about Krishna consciousness and their doubts, um, we leverage these cheating dharmas. In other words, like the side benefits of chanting Hare Krishna, how it'll like just transform your life materially. Similarly, even in answering people's questions about these cheating dharmas like social justice, we leverage our knowledge of actually they were created by the CIA. These different social engineering operations. A lot of the dharmas come from social engineering. So the instructions, in other words, that we're giving to newcomers sometimes is not it's not as pure, but we have to leverage it, which brings to the issue, the perennial debate between bridge preaching and direct preaching. You know, what is actually effective? So Prahlad Maharaj here, he is saying that uh, it's uncontaminated instructions, right? So my question relates to your experiences that you describing this god sister who became a devotee, you didn't directly answer her questions or her doubts, right? So when they testified, like what the actual cause was, in just the light just opening, and they're like, actually, Krishna is indeed uh, the cause of all causes. Yes, I have to actually surrender. Um, I mean, I don't know if you could share if she said what when the curtains actually opened for her, or in other devotees that surprised you, because your style of preaching is direct. Um, like what was the cause in these devotees' cases that actually uncovered their covering, their material covering?
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah, thanks for asking. My experience has been that in almost all cases, the cause is Srila Prabhupada's books, not me. But if we can satisfy someone's inquisitiveness enough to keep directing them towards Krishna and hearing Prabhupada's books, then the curtains open. And so this young woman who was coming, presenting all sorts of issues, social issues and political issues and all sorts of stuff. I can't remember exactly what I would say to her, but I would always try to point towards Krishna consciousness as the solution for everything and to encourage her to read Prabhupada's books. And when people read Prabhupada's books thoroughly, I mean, they're irrevocably changed. We've all experienced that firsthand. Prabhupada really is the best preacher. His words are just so powerful. And we should consider ourselves just trying to, lead that horse to water. This is the water. This is the nectar that you're searching for. And that's been very, very, very effective. I don't think that we should I don't think that we should do anything but present pure devotional service, even if we're not pure devotees. I don't think that we should try to pitch Krishna consciousness or kirtan or chanting the holy names as some sort of stress relief, as some sort of material benefit, as some sort of, trying to sell it with anything other than just love of God. And Gurudev told me this explicitly, actually. I'll tell a quick story because we have 3 minutes. That when I was serving him on a trip to Washington, D.C., he did a program at the temple there. And before he went on, I shouldn't say so. One devotee was addressing the audience, which is devotees, of course, and some newcomers to the temple saying that chanting Hare Krishna relieves stress. A sort of common phrase, I guess. It sounds nice. It's a good way to just kind of like, well, you're here, you're selling it a little bit. And then after Gurudev's lecture and the program, and then we were driving back to wherever we were going, I can't even remember. He told me that this is offensive. He said this is nama aparad to consider the holy name. What is it? The one having any? There's not some material benefit to consider it some sort of materialistic activity having some material benefit like stress relief. Gurudev said that this is nama aparad, and it's not meant for auspicious material benefits. He said that we should be sensitive to the holy names like we would be to any other person, because the name of Krishna is not different from Krishna. He said we should not shy away from telling people that the real goal of chanting Hare Krishna is to please Krishna. It's just love of God. That's it. He said that's what we should tell people. And if in certain contexts, like talking about some social issues or some politics or environment, we can use that medium to encourage love of God, then that's what we should do. And if we're not clever, like me, then just talk about chanting Hare Krishna as for awakening love of God. I'm not so smart. I'm not so clever. I can't pull off stuff like that, like Gurudev can. So I just get straight to the point because I don't, I'm a little bit thick-headed. But Gurudev was very clear, very adamant about being sensitive to the holy name and only presenting it. Its sole purpose is to please Krishna and awaken love of God. Then later he texted me after this whole trip had finished, and he sent me this excerpt from Srila Prabhupada talking about, I got to do this in 1 minute because it's almost 8 o'clock, talking about a disease that was spreading through Calcutta and how it was expunged because of the power of Harinama. So listen to this. This is what Gurudev sent me in a message. He said, Prabhupada testifies that a plague of disease was expunged from Calcutta in 1898 because of the power of Harinama, yet there is so much more to be had from chanting. This is a Prabhupada quote. This is a fact. Everyone who knows the history of Calcutta, the plague was subsided by Sankirtan movement. Of course, we do not recommend that Sankirtan should be used for some material purpose. That is nama aparad, syama mati pramana. Sankirtan, you can utilize Sankirtan for some material purpose, but that is not allowed. That is nama aparada, because nama, the holy name of Krishna, and Krishna, they are identical. You cannot utilize Krishna for your personal material benefit. That is aparada. Krishna is the Lord. You cannot engage the Lord for your service. Similarly, you cannot utilize the holy name of the Lord for some material purpose. That is not allowed. So anyway, because yayata mam prapadyante, if you wanted some material benefit by chanting Hare Krishna mantra, you'll get it. But that is nama aparada. You won't get the ecstasy of loving God. That is the aim of chanting Hare Krishna mantra. How you shall elevate yourself to the platform of loving God. This is from a lecture in Mayapur, June 20th, 1973. So since Gurudev told me that, I've tried to be sensitive to the holy name. That was his exact words. And not pitch it, package it with something material. I think that we should be direct. I think that we should be straightforward. And if someone has some interest in something political or social or environmental or whatever, we should pray to Krishna to have the cleverness to tie that into pure love of God in all situations. And that's what I've always tried to do. And I can't say that I've been fully successful, but I'm much happier being sensitive to the holy name as Gurudev instructed me. So I'm just putting that out there. Not trying to get on anybody's case because I know all Sankirtan is glorious. All preaching is fantastic. anything that anyone does, in my opinion, is great and should be done, but we can always do it better and better as well. And I think Gurudev gave some explicit instruction on how to do that. The best way is to just get people to read Prabhupada's books. I don't think of myself as a preacher. I just think of myself as a deliverer to the books. Just try to deliver someone to the books and try to introduce them to a spiritual master. I don't preach Krishna consciousness. I'm not very good at it. But if I can just get someone to read Prabhupada's books and to introduce them to much better devotees, like a bona fide spiritual master, then that's been very effective so far.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thanks for listening to my tirade. All right, it's 8:03, which means my kids are going to start making demands, engaging their father in their service. So I gotta get going. Thanks, dear devotees, for tuning in. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.